Ready to cover Hulu, Wu-Tang and American Saga, Season 1, Episode 5. It's a cold world. There was a lot going on this episode. A lot that kind of blew my mind, but let's stay tuned to see what happens next.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Wu-Tang, Wu-Tang, Wu-Tang. Hey, hey. What's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. I'm one of your hosts, Chef Beanz, coming through with the mental cuisine. You might have seen me on The Shy, The Act, and now I'm here to cover all things Wu-Tang. And to my left, the lovely, you might have seen her on Black Lightning, and now she's here tonight to give you some of that lightning. We have Zuri.
Hi, everyone. I brought my killer bees with me.
Yes, she worked it out. I love it.
She brought the killer bees ready to sting everybody.
Exactly, and she would do it on the low, too. That's what makes it so cool. You hear that voice, right? She's very soft-spoken, but she'll get that.
Right, I caught it. And next, you might have seen her on Harlots, The Shy, When They See Us, and now we see her. Her name is Kittie Kaboom.
What's up, everybody? I'm so grateful to be here. It's going to be cool.
It's going to be very cool. And speaking about cool, we're here to cover Wu-Tang, Episode 5, Season 1. It's a cold world. We're going to talk about family matters, of course, cold world, and also a lot of hidden talent that went down in this episode. So let's just start and jump right into overall thoughts. Zuri, what do you think? What are your overall thoughts about this episode?
I feel like this wasn't one of my favorite episodes, but I do feel like they put us on a launching board. So next episode should be a lot of action.
Right.
So I feel like this was like the prequel to like some real sauce.
Very nice. I agree. I mean, I'm not going to say it wasn't my favorite. I did enjoy it a whole lot, but I totally see where you're going with that. And I did watch the tease for the next episode. So yeah, they about to get it in. And this was absolutely necessary. Sometimes people in storytelling, you have to kind of just fill in the blanks. And it's not always exciting. It's not always great dialogue, but it is necessary in order for the story to progress. So I really like the fact that they plugged us in with some flashbacks, some information about who these people are to begin with, the auntie and all that. We'll get to that in a minute, but you called it. I enjoyed the fact that there were some things that I didn't understand, and now I do.
Right. This episode, like my emotions didn't really go on a roller coaster like they typically did in the previous episodes, but there were certain scenes where I was kind of like, okay, Bobby D. Yeah, I like that. Like, there were certain things where I'm like, Raekwon about to drop some bars. I don't want to spill too much, but there were certain parts where I got excited. But I did feel as though this was like a filler episode as well. But like you said, they did need to fill in some blanks. But let's get right into the first topic, which is family matters. And as we see at the beginning of this episode, we got Divine, who's in court, basically I say, like, I'm a crackhead. I did these drugs. Hopefully I can recover. But family matters kind of danced throughout this episode. How do you feel like family matters kind of went through this episode? Let's start with Kittie.
Well, I mean, I think family was touched on quite a bit. It is throughout this show, though. I like the fact that there's a literal family that's being focused on Divine. His brother, well, he's going to become RZA, Bobby, Cherie, whom I adore, and the little boy. Excuse me, like what they go through, what they encompass as a family, the choices that they make together and separately is always dope. But I like the fact that the Wu is becoming a family as well. So it's multi-layered in that family doesn't have to be blood related. And I mean, I'm sure people get that. Obviously, the idea of it is there. But to see these brothers and for Bobby to say something as poignant as, wherever I go, y'all going with me.
Right.
You know what I mean? And put his foot down about that and continue to try to incorporate them. Even when Jizza is like backing out the door, I got stuff to do. He's like, yo, kid, just give me 6 bars, 8 bars. Like, hook me up. I want you on this. I want you to be a part of my creation because I want to include us all and make us a real family.
Right.
I like the fact that he's constantly making it an inclusive situation. And even in as I said, the storyline with the family that they most focus on, I like that they allow themselves a little bit of wiggle room too, in terms of like, let's just be honest about the dynamics of everything. Because so much has changed since Divine came home. Right. But you already knew. You know what I mean? We knew it was going to be the same.
No, that's very true. Zuri, what do you think?
My favorite Family Matters impact this episode was when Bobby said, "Don't you have a curfew?"
Yes! That she died. I was like, here for it.
Like, I was literally like... And like with the last episode, we talked about Bobby really stepping into himself,
right?
And us liking him taking his intuition and feeling himself out. And that was when he's like, actually, I'm the man of the house now. And I was like, okay, Bobby, this is and even this episode more I seen, like when he was walking into the record shops, like we just saw him feeling himself so much more.
Yes.
And I don't know if it's the music or the money or his brother being gone and him just having to figure it out outside of both of those spaces. But that's when I really liked Bobby this episode. But I feel like as far as Family Matters goes, like him calling his brother out like that was my favorite moment.
Yeah, he definitely stepped up. That was maybe my favorite scene this whole episode because Bobby D, not saying he was never like a man, but you could just tell his decision making was always influenced by something to where he was just being tugged in a lot of different directions. But this episode, he's like, yeah, you've been going for some time. And this what's been happening. You can call it nickel and dime, and you can call it whatever if I'm not doing the same thing that you're doing, but I've been paying. The bills are paid.
Yeah.
Food is in the refrigerator upstairs.
Exactly.
So he just kind of told him, like, everything that you're saying, cool, but I'm handling everything right now. So I like how Bobby D stepped up in that capacity. There were a couple different situations where I feel like Family Matters, and I'm going to go to Dennis just basically wilding out because his mom is freaking, going through his situation, and we see how he's treating Cherie like, yo, whatever, like I need to figure this situation out because I have a lot on my plate and things are just unbalanced right now. So that's actually, I'm gonna say, negatively impacting him in a way because you have somebody who's 100% for you, but all you can see is like you're living in a fairy tale, I'm living in reality in his perspective. But also when the mob came over to the crib, and we know how the Italians are when it comes to family.
Right.
They're like, you could take a dime from me, you can take however much from me, but we need that back. And it kind of forces the family to kind of come together like Captain Planet or the Avengers. Like, we need to figure this out.
Right, we got to make this work.
Right.
And on that note, I thought about another family moment, and this is not one where, again, they're blood related, but I don't care what Dennis is mad because he's on another rap and all the rest of that. He's in the record store, he flexing a little bit, feeling himself because he decided to go a different route and everybody's checking for him, which is great. But then as soon as Bobby comes in and says what he had to say, he was like, blah, 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 blah. Dennis turned around like, blah, 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 blah. And he was like, my mom. He was like, let's go.
Yeah.
Like, whatever you need, done, over. And that, you gotta love like that. That means so much to me. Yes, because that's what it's supposed to be all about. I don't care what happened yesterday. Today, my mom is in trouble. My mother. That means your mother too, because you be over there eating her food every day in her house, and we are collectively a family, whether we like it or not. So get your over here and let's make it happen. That struck me. I enjoyed that.
Now that struck me as well. And just this, even though Divine is doing his own thing, like I said earlier, you can see he's okay with acting like he's a drug addict just to get out because he knows impacting his mom. He needs to really get out there because what was kind of preventing him from doing that at the beginning was a lot of ego. Well, I'm not going out like a sucker. Even Power being in there, you can tell for a second his ego was like, oh, now I'm looking like a sucker. This dude was in the courthouse, but it is what it is. I'm out. So Family Matters kind of circulated throughout this whole episode.
And speaking of Cherie and Dennis, it was awkward when Dennis up and left last episode.
Yeah.
So if it were me, I would probably like, oh, I'm not going over there for a little bit. It's a little hot over there. And then we see them sitting side by side like nothing ever happened. So it's still like, although I'm not feeling you right now, your house is my house, and we're still a family.
I love that. That means everything to me. I think that has a lot to do with our culture too, quite honestly. I don't know that well, no, I can't say that all cultures don't emulate that kind of behavior, because you just said Italians are known for that as well. Asian people are super about their business and their family. I mean, lineage is super important to them as well. So I can see how, we'll just say melanin people, in my experience, have a lot to riding on what is family and what that means, what those dynamics are, and how you should play into that. And I mean, I love to see it celebrated. It's so dope.
Nah, absolutely. And speaking about celebrations, Zuri, can you tell us how the people can talk about our celebrations with this network?
Nice! I see you, boo. I see you.
Hey guys, before we get to the next topic, I just want to say thank you for making us the ESPN of TV Talk. Make sure you give us a thumbs up on this video and a 5-star rating on iTunes. Anything else, keep it. Now that you wouldn't do that though. We all appreciate being here on AfterBuzz. We're all on a slew of shows, and we all have super poppin' social media, so follow us there to keep up with our next move.
Nice. That was very good, Mama. If I could, I'd like to interject real quick. We want to shout out our people in the chat room. We appreciate you so much. More specifically, King David is doing his thing.
King David. Hey, we see you, boy.
Salute to the panel. I appreciate you, love. I'm feeling sad. I hate myself. Oh, wow, Jamie, I'm sorry to hear that. That came out of nowhere. I'm sorry. I hope we can make you feel better. This episode was all about pride and humbleness. That's what Levi says. I'd like you to expound. I'm not sure that I understand exactly what you mean by that, but it sounds pretty good. And then everybody just has little things that they're interjecting. So I appreciate all of the chats. We love having you guys tune in. And obviously the conversation will continue. So I'll get back to that in a minute.
Right. Speaking about sadness, our next topic is this cold world. So hopefully
I'm gonna fight you. Would you please cut it out?
It's cold world. But so much happened. This episode is actually called Cold World.
Yeah.
And we can see it's winter time in December and Christmas in New York, Staten Island. And it gets cold, really cold out there physically. But even internally, there's a lot going on in this episode. We see that Shotgun / Method Man is putting out his tracks and everybody's feeling it. Dennis is kind of like, whoa, you trying to play me? So now I need to drop a track. And now there's like this static that kind of like brings up, I don't know, like, I guess not malice, but you can see it's like some tension within Dennis that he's trying to like bring out of everybody. Like,
Dennis is so mad at the world all the time.
This episode, he was just so mad. Like,
he's always that way. That's why I love him and Cherie together, because she seems like she's the only one that all she got to do is sit there. And he's just like, oh, I love you. And he allows himself to be vulnerable. He allows himself to soften and hear people out. And now he be coming for your neck for nut. Yo, you let that nigga. I'm like, what? Right. Calm down, bruh. Like he said, this is all hip hop. It's all in the name of hip hop. It's not personal. Nah, B. Nah. And now he's stopping out creating this. I just don't think it's that necessary. He just be mad constantly. I just want him to calm down.
Yeah, he's really feeling the weather around this season because we know he tried to set up his crib for his mom in previous episodes. Hey, Mom, look what I did for you. And this isn't the season for him to be jolly. You know what I mean? What do you think, Zuri, about like Dennis during this season?
I mean, Dennis and I'm forgetting his name, Bobby's brother that came from jail.
Divine.
Divine. I think that must be another reason why they got along so well, because they're both always so mad. Let's just get the money. And it's like, I can see why you guys, like now I'm sitting here like I can see why they were like best friends.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But as far as Cold World goes, it was a real cold world. I was expecting, this is kind of cliche, but when Cherie was sitting in the
yes,
theater,
you thought somebody was going.
I thought so.
What happened when she was sitting in the theater? What were y'all thinking?
One of the Italians was going to come and get her, especially
and snatch
when
her
she started like looking at the ceiling.
Yes.
And I feel like the cinematography in this episode was crazy. When Divine was in jail and the Mama Diggs was sitting in like the bleachers. The camera panned up from her tapping, like the nervousness.
Yeah.
So I think the music and the cinematography in that moment was like, oh my God, this world's gonna
it created adult tension.
Yeah,
and that's what good TV is supposed to do, right? It brings a certain tension there, even when there is no cataclysmic moment. It makes you think that, because then it makes you think of all the other elements that are going on and what's about to go down. So that Cold World thing, when they came in there, I just thought that was so unnecessary. You know what I mean? Obviously, the main Italiano guy, right? That used to play on Sopranos. I'm sorry, I don't know his name. He clearly, genuinely likes Mama D. So he's not going to talk disparagingly to her or be disrespectful. Whereas his counterparts,
they don't care.
They don't give a
damn. Disrespectful the last episode.
Exactly. They was talking crazy. They was talking crazy about the little boy before shot. Exactly. Ja's son.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate that they take that stance, but to come into somebody's home and start playing music, calling people the N-word, and I just thought that was way too far. Like, okay, we get it. You made your point. That was not necessary. You're in their home. Like, this is not 1942. Right. You know what I mean? These are the 80s. Right. Like, we've come a whole... Anyway, I didn't like that. I didn't appreciate it at all. But it definitely set the mood for where his level of anger and retribution or whatever he thinks he's going to get is set. Like, there's no mincing words here. We know what's about to go down.
Yeah, we know it's about to go down. We need this money.
Yeah.
Auntie pulled up, and like you said, she had other
you was
intentions.
Right. Yo, you killed that. I'm like, no, she's sweet. You're like, yeah, not so much. Dang.
What did you guys think of their kitchen encounter between auntie and mom?
I didn't like it.
See, I was kind of torn between the two because I understand where mom is basically saying like, look, you come passing through. Who do you think you are to basically try to be this person who I know that you're not? Like, I know you up close. And then auntie is basically saying, your daughter is overly talented. Like, you need to do things to ignite that flame inside of her. Me giving her these tickets was me investing into her because I know she's a born star, a born talent. So I kind of felt empathetic on both sides, but at the same time, this is my crib. You're not going to disrespect me in my crib. So I ended up leaning towards where Mama Diggs was coming from, and to find out that it was from stolen money. So stolen money from my job.
From my job.
From my job. Not even from my, that I work here.
Right, like this is my livelihood. Without this, I don't know what means I would have to make a living. I agree. I think that, you're in someone else's home. You have to be respectful of that. A lot of times people take it to the bridge and, you micromanaging me. No, I actually pay the bills here. So if that's uncomfortable for you or you're not happy here, then you don't have to stay, even if you are my sister. I did love their camaraderie though. I love that everybody, once she walked in, from the little kid brother to Devon, they all jumped up and hugged her. So she always brought a good energy. Yeah. Granted, it was a little misguided.
We all had those favorite aunts. Like aunts.
Unfortunately, I ain't got no aunts, but I do understand what you're talking about. I'm just saying, I don't know what that feeling is, but I do know.
We see a lot of that. In TV,
I see it quite a bit. You're right. I wish that it could have been different. You know what I mean? I wish that she wasn't that person or whatever. But that one particular scene, sorry to answer your question, I thought it was interesting. I would have liked for it to be more cohesive. Like, I wish that they could have ended on a good note. Like, you're going to be who you're going to be. You don't want to have kids. You don't want to settle down. That's the life that you've chosen. That doesn't make you any better or worse than me, and vice versa. Because that's where I think it got kind of sticky. Yeah. And that's what happens with siblings, right? Like, okay, I chose this life. Yeah, and it sucks. Like, you could have kept that to you. This is my life. Like, this is respect my gangster. But instead, they're just like, they just kind of, siblings come at each other a different way than other people.
They know how to really push those buttons. Like, this is what it is. But like you said, there's no life that's better than either one. If I decided to go 9 to 5 and I decided to freelance my life, neither one is better. As long as happiness is the foundation of what we're doing, then who are you to say what I'm doing is wrong?
Just very super judgy. And I think that's what siblings do quite often. And it does. It separates them then you can leave. Right. You know what I mean? It comes to that. And that didn't even have to go down. Well, I guess it did. It was going to go down whether it was that moment or another moment because she's stealing.
It's probably good that she did leave. Right?
I know, right?
Yeah, they would have came in there with the bats. Oh, she's here? Okay, we'll just take her and throw her in the trunk.
Exactly.
I feel differently. I feel like Mama Diggs kind of should have, although it was stolen money, yes, and that is wrong. I think in the grand scheme of things, Cherie needed that. Like, whether, like, and I almost feel like in the realm of like the universe, it was gonna come to her whether it was stolen money or not. Like, Cherie needs to be on the stage. She needs to be an entertainer, and unfortunately, this is the way she found out. But I feel like, and Mama Diggs also should have seen, like, someone sees more in my daughter than her being a maid, which is how I see her.
Right.
So I kind of felt like she should have, like, unfortunately, it came the way it did, but I feel like, to me, that should have been like a light bulb. Like,
no, I agree.
Absolutely. And speaking about light bulbs, let's transition into our third topic, which is hidden talents. And when it comes to hidden talents and people having these things that exist inside of them, sometimes it takes a light bulb for you to really recognize it inside of you. So let's start back with Shotgun, who had this mixtape made by Bobby D. Everybody's rocking with it in Staten Island, different boroughs. And then, like I said, Dennis gets upset, but that same fury that was ignited inside of him led him to create his own mixtape. And now they both rocking the airwaves in Staten Island. So, Kittie, how did you feel about hidden talent between everyone who's kind of...
I think it's interesting to see what motivates who and why, right? So this cat, Bobby B, is about his business. He makes beats. He done invested in it. He got his SP1200. You can't tell him nothing. You know what I mean? He's surrounding himself with like-minded people, and he's on a mission. He's very focused, and he's even able to divert that attention to get that little bit of bag so he can take care of his family. So I think he's the dopest for that reason. I also think it's interesting that he doesn't need much motivation because it's almost like it's in his veins. Like he said, he hears the music constantly. He sees the music. So it's interesting to see a cat like Raekwon that has to be like super encouraged, or not Devon, Darren. No. Is it Devin and Devon? Dennis, thank you. Lord have mercy. It's a D. I know it was a D. My bad. Dennis, I feel like you got to coddle him and like hype him up. Yo, you killed it on that last verse, son. Come through. Like, we know you're going to put it down. Why can't we just say we got a dope beat? We love how you rhyme. Make it happen. Right. It's gotta be.
But remember last time that they're like, rap on this good beat. He's like, yes. I got my gun. I don't want to. So remember, maybe it's just anger again.
Again, right? Long as my gun clap, I ain't gotta rap. Why are you so angry,
that's the only round of applause I need, as long as my gun clap.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which was a bar. I think it was clever.
I think that was quite clever. You're right. But it is interesting to see what motivates who from what, right? Yeah. Like Dave East is in. I'm sorry, Meth Habo is in there. Working his butt off, and his motivation is just because he thinks that he's talented enough to make this happen. Everybody has their own push, and I think it's so dope that there's so many different levels of it. They all come together for different reasons, but they all come together, and that's the bottom line. They're cohesively like creating this movement that obviously is now considered iconic. So it's pretty dope to see it come together.
Absolutely, and we see Raekwon, who's driving through the car, trying to holler at the chick. She's like, no, I'm listening to this music. It's cool.
He's kind of like, think about you.
He kind of like, dang, I got all this money, new car, and I can't. But inside, he knows he can rap, right?
Yeah. I mean, he told her that, right? I got bars too.
And she's
like, anywhere.
Yeah, whatever. So then they go to the apartment building where Shotgun, ODB, they all in there, and he's walking by. Now, I'm a grown man. I'm getting money. All right, so you say some bars, like, what's up?
Right.
And you could tell he was getting into it.
Yeah.
But then the cop came, so it's kind of like, all right, cool, like, whatever. So he has this monster that's fighting to get it outside of him, but everything externally that's going on is kind of keeping that in, you know? And let's think about how many times that happens in the inner city now. I know some of the most talented people who I know would just explode their airways or explode whatever, but they kind of accept society and the way life is given to them, so they put their talents to the side. And it seems like Raekwon is kind of going down that stream right now.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
It seems like Raekwon is like self-inflicted poison, because it doesn't like for him to have rapped in the hallway wouldn't have taken anything away from him. Like we haven't seen anyone rap for more than 20 seconds, 30 seconds. So it's like he doesn't even really want to like face. To me, it seems like he's having a real like inner struggle. Like he's really battling himself. It's not even like I need to get mad to rap, or I'm only rapping for money, or I'm rapping for fun. Like ODB, we still don't know much about him, but he just wants to make a beat and make noise. Like
he just want to be in the mix.
Yeah, we don't even really know his motive, but it seems like Raekwon just like doesn't like that part of himself, or.
That does appear to be the case, right? I think, too, he struggles internally because of the whole home life. You got to remember, that's a huge element of his life. His parents, right now, today, even though he's not a part of their lives, not integrally the way he used to be as a child anyway, but they have, like, a picture up of him. They still celebrate him, talk about him. I think that's probably kind of painful for him, the fact that he had to leave the house, live on the street. It's like he is his own worst enemy, is the impression I get.
Even to that note, a few episodes ago, I noticed that he chose drugs. Like, it seemed like he's the only person that we've seen so far that had two parents. And it's like, you are the only person that has a 2-parent household, but you chose to live on a roof and sell drugs. Not even to fund your rap career, but to just
exist,
have drugs. It was...
I think I get the impression that he's constantly trying to keep up with the Joneses without looking too thirsty. Like, he can't jump out there completely and be like, whatever you say, massa. You know what I mean? He can't show that kind of eager. But the fact that he's constantly following the footsteps of someone else as opposed to striking a trail on his own, it bothers me. Because I think he is super talented, and I think he needs to be able to be celebrated in that. But all he want to do is impress his mans in them that got him the apartment and got him the car. And you know what I mean?
I could even say that even to the terms of wardrobe. So I'm always looking at his wardrobe compared to everyone else. Like, he's the only one with the full grill. His beanie's almost to the side, like covering both of his eyes. And I'm kind of like, are you selling me?
Yes.
Like the bad boy? But I feel like that's intentional, though.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I guess somebody said, we hide what's inside, or we wear something to cover up what's inside. Yeah. So a lot of people do that. They use these external things, whether it's the medallions, the big jackets, the shiny jewelry, the big boots, just to cover up. I guess, the broken parts of themselves. And we could clearly tell that Raekwon is broken, but he's trying to find some type of way to still have a noise, because he's kind of being sunned throughout these episodes. Like, dang, like I was on the roof, now you got me this spot, you got me this car. Oh, but you still at work though. Like, he doesn't really have a sense of empowerment.
With crackheads.
Right. He doesn't really have a sense of empowerment, but he's like, oh, but look, I'm a man. But we know he has a lot of hidden talent inside of him. We saw from episode 1, so I'm just curious to see how they're going to bring everyone together.
Me too.
With
I cannot wait for
hidden
that.
talents, and it just, like I said, all come together like Captain Planet or whatever, the Avengers, everything like that.
And how they're able to put their egos aside. I'm so sorry to cut you off,
you're good.
but it just reminded me of the fact that there are so many of them, and they're all New Yorkers. No shade to New Yorkers. I don't mean to roll my eyes that way. Don't at me.
They know about themselves.
Y'all know how y'all get down, right? It's all New Yorkers. New York. I'm la la la. And then don't let it be Brooklyn. Good Lord.
Right.
BK forever. We get it. Okay. So I say that to say that I feel like a part of him feels like he has to be super New York and has to be this guy, despite the fact that he has, I think he thinks it makes him too vulnerable or something.
Like, I think he's the only one that had things. Like, he has to make himself appear less than to hide the fact that he actually probably came from a good home, had everything he needed, doesn't need to sell drugs. But I think we've all seen those kind of people in life. Like, you have 2 parents in a 2-car driveway.
And it's almost like he's ashamed of that.
Yeah.
That's so sad.
I mean, a lot of people do that because, like you said, make them seem vulnerable and make them seem soft, but he's going to eventually get it together. He has no other choice, because it's every day and every time he rolls down his windows or listen to music is a reminder that people are out here busting moves and you got a decision to make. Even though you're at this intersection where you can either choose street life or really dive fully into your talent, you have a decision to make. So this episode was called Cold World. We saw how cold it got.
Yeah.
We saw how family matters and how there's so much hidden talent. Oh, my bad. Cold World. We saw how much hidden talent is all throughout Staten Island, but it's not going to be hidden for much long. And speaking about much long, I'm pretty sure we have a variety of different topics or maybe Slim about news and gossip. So let's just transition right into news and gossip coming to you from Zuri.
Yes. Speaking of Raekwon, him and Ghostface will actually be performing on the 20th in San Francisco. So any Wu-Tang fans want to take that trip to San Francisco, make that happen. Okay. Also, speaking of Ghostface Killer, he actually has an action figure.
How dope is that?
That's fire.
Yes. So you can get a Ghostface action figure and a t-shirt and a CD off for $350, and he says that get it while you can because they're taking off like hotcakes.
What do they get with the $352? Please tell them, because people are like
the t-shirt, the CD, and the action figure.
Okay, yes. Just so we know, because everybody's like $350.
That's a
I mean,
relic.
it is kind of steep, but it's iconic.
It's Wu-Tang.
Like, this is Wu-Tang, right? It's Wu-Tang forever. You kidding me? Yeah, that's pretty dope.
Yes.
That's definitely dope. And thanks, Zori, for the news and gossip. Now, Kitty, I think you have something for us for our special segment.
Do.
Who is who? Who is Wu?
So this is one of my favorite people on this earth. And let me just say, I love his talent, but I love you, man. Let me just, me and you, all the time. I actually met this man in my lifetime, y'all. We spent time and everything. I feel the need to share that. Okay, moving on. Yeah, it's pretty dope. He was on Jimmy Kimmel not too long ago, obviously before the premiere of the show, and he called it Woo Wednesday. He made an appearance to tell Jimmy all about it. Let's hear that clip real quick.
American Saga actually premieres Wu-Tang Wednesday. It's on Hulu.
And so, this show, as a young man, you really worked at the Statue of Liberty.
Best job I ever had.
Really?
Best job ever
You
had.
love working there. What was great about it?
Well, for one, the guys that were in charge, the guys that owned the place, Mr. Hill, Brad Hill. Shout out to Brad Hill, who's still there. Mr. Hill, R.I.P. They would hire kids like myself, straight off the street. I didn't have any ID, nothing. It was kind of like a trust system, you know what I mean? And we got paid in cash. you know? And the fact that they would bring us in and a lot of us robbed them blind behind the scenes, but they would still hire these underprivileged kids.
You robbed the Statue of Liberty?
I'm not saying I did it. You know, actually, I didn't. I love that job. Let's just put it that way. Everything I did was square biz. That's why I'm welcome there to this day.
What was your job?
Okay, that is adorable. I love that clip because it gives you a little insight into who Meth is, his brain and stuff. I love that he's so articulate these days. Not that he hasn't been, but you know, he's a New Yorker, so sometimes it come out a little different, feel me? So I like the fact that he's on there on Jimmy like, no, I wasn't the one making these horrible things happen. But anyway, it's a shout out to Method Man. I just wanted to recap the fact that he is obviously an integral part of this show. I also wanted to say that the Wu-Tang will be performing at the 2019 Riot Fest. I believe that's out here in California. So that should be nice. They're like, this is almost like a resurgence. They never went anywhere, as we all know. Wu-Tang is iconic. Method Man, Raekwon, they all have their own specific entities and who they became apart from the group, which is dope too. You know what I mean? You know ODB by himself. You know Method, Jizza, RZA, Raekwon, the Chef, all of them. But I do love the fact that they're able to still come together after all these years and break bread, you know what I'm saying, entertain the people. And the fact that Meth has gone on to an amazing acting career as well. He's very believable, and nothing is beneath him. I think that's so dope. Like, if you remember, he was kind of cast as mostly like a thug early on, right? But then he got the big break, which Kevin Hart was just talking about this the other day. It's a dichotomy that existed when Soul Plane came out, because that's like, there was a huge deal, so much anticipation, everybody was ready for it, and then it dropped literally a full month before it was supposed to drop. So obviously that ruined it. But Meth being in there and playing a different kind of character and showing his versatility, I think that kind of opened up some other doors for him and allowed him to show that, yeah, I can act too. Like, let me shine. Right. Pretty dope. Oh, and one more thing. Okay. Hi, Meth. Just saying. Oh.
Thanks, Kittie, for the Who is Wu. And we just all want to say thanks, everybody, for coming out, joining us on Wu Wednesdays here at AfterBuzz TV. We're so grateful that you came out, but you're going to have to check us next Wednesday to get more with Who is Wu and news and gossip with Hulu, Wu-Tang, and American Saga. Where can they find us all at? Let's start with you, Zuri. Where can they find you?
You guys can find me at Zuri Shellece, ZuriChellece, on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube.
What a pretty name.
Thank you.
You can find me, Kittie, Kittie, Kaboom, Kaboom, on IG, Kittie Meow on Twitter, and Kittie Kali on Facebook.
And you can find me on all social media platforms at Chef_Beanz with a Z. Thanks for coming out, everybody. See you next week. Wu-Tang, Wu-Tang, Wu-Tang.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.